Hey guys, Rob here. So the question of the hour is, when should I go into a niche with my photography business? You know, a niche or a niche. Niche. There are riches and niches. That's how the saying goes. And that's an idea that I really believe in, because when you identify your target market, you can put your arms around it as far as your marketing is concerned, and you can better identify them and approach them with your offers and your sales pitches and your promotions and such. So the worst mistake is to say everybody is my market. That's like, no matter what industry you're in, that is not a thing. So for me, in my photography business, it's evolved over the decades. And for me now, it's predominantly ferry sessions. And this season, and my seasons go from May till October, maybe bleed a little into November. And we do 6 ferry day events. We could easily do more. We're looking at doing more. My wife has identified some towns in Ontario where she's like, we should go hit up this area. She's done some research and she's looked at areas that have the highest per capita income. So that's a determining factor. And that is a reference to the sort of larger picture of what I want to talk about when I answer the question, when should you niche? Or the other way I like to phrase it is, when should you go high end? And should you go high end? So I think everybody should niche as soon as they can. The worst thing to do is to try and please everybody all the time and to be the not the point and shoot, the shoot and burn, $200-300 mini session, bada boom, bada bing, you're in, you're out. Because you're not really going to grow your business to a long-term profit scenario, long-term client base in your community. So keep that in mind. So I was talking to Nancy Tilburg a couple weeks ago, and I'll put the post to the replay because we had her on our photo buzz 3 weeks ago, and she said something. I've heard her say this before. Volume meets luxury. She does volume boutique dance photography, and she does all her stuff online galleries, and she gets a much higher than average order, and her work is sort of boutique-ish. Now you look at that and you go, okay, it's volume, and you look at that and you look at these other photographers who are doing very high-end, people like Maggie down in Oakville, or Maria down, I think it's in North Carolina or South Carolina. Then you got Larry Hertzberger and Ted Linzak, these guys who are doing very, very high end. They're commanding big dollars. And I talked to somebody like Nancy, and she says, well, we're volume meets luxury. And I kind of can relate to that. So identify your niche, first of all. Pursue it. Make sure you have a good product. If you don't have a good product, it's not going to work. So that's important. Our ferry pictures, I hate to say it while I'm bragging, but they're easy to sell because people love them. They're very dynamic. They're very visually impactful, and the experience is something that's a big part of it too. And once you get that experience as part of your brand, the word spreads and people say to other people, oh man, we had a great time. They just love the actual experience, but they love the main product in the end. So start with a good product, something that you can sell, and identify your market. So in my city, I hope I'm not sounding like a cop-out. And if I'm sounding like a cop-out, so is people like Nancy. That I'm in a blue-collar, union town, mining community. If I were to command $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 average per, say, ferry shoot, or if it was a Santa shoot or whatever, I think that would be a very limited market. So my model is simple. We charge $120 for a session fee, and then we do the ascension marketing. They buy more from there, and our success rate is like 99.8%. When we shoot, say, 100 ferries, maybe one won't buy more, maybe. And that's rare, but they almost 100% of the time buy more, and our averages are pretty high. So I look at the aggregate total, and I used to do the same thing when we used to do the ferries for Baby's First Year, Creative Kids Club. We used to do a lot more promotions, which we got away from. And our niche now is ferries and pop-up weddings. So I've taken the wedding industry, and my wife is now a wedding officiant, so we do complete package. Mini wedding or a micro wedding or a pop-up wedding event. Your backyard, out at the cottage, in the forest, on the roof, in the studio, or we'll rent out a nice place. We'll do 6 weddings in one day, every 2 hours, mass volume, very popular. So what I'm saying is we've gone from this big wedding, which I've done 1 million in my time, to a lot smaller weddings, the pop-up weddings. So I'm niching. See, I'm niching into a specific category. And the same with fairies. Fairies can be compared to the Santa Claus pictures, which I find kind of bizarre, but I know they're very successful. I don't get it, but I know the numbers are off the charts. So when should you niche and go high end? As soon as you can. As soon as you can. Don't decide, oh, I'm going to start slow and I'm going to be everybody's my client. Just try and identify right now who it is you're after. And if your work's not that good, now you know what your goal is. Your goal is to get good and just to keep shooting until you get to that point. So, yeah, volume meets luxury. That's how I perceive and see our Fairy Day events. And it's a very specific model that we've identified about 16, 17 years ago, started doing them, not knowing where they were going, and they just evolved into this amazing product, which is now something that we take on the road. As I mentioned, we're doing 6, 2 in our city, and all the other 4 locations are in other cities, other towns, 3 to 6 hours drive. We could take this and duplicate it anywhere. So that's what I like about it. It's scalable. However, it's got to be done a certain way, and you got to follow certain guidelines. So that's kind of the way that works, and that's what I bring to the fairymasters.com, Fairy Masters program. You can read about it at fairymasters.com, and it's a system that I highly encourage anybody who wants to do something similar is to follow. So I know other photographers are breaking away from what it is we do, and all the power to them. I wish them the best of luck, but in my city, if I were to sort of mimic what some of them do in the higher end, let's call it the luxury platinum level. What's that town in that area in Los Angeles, where they where they have very, very expensive stores. This very, very high-end boutique. Forget what it's called. Beverly Hills. The Beverly Hills of fairy sessions. There ain't no Beverly Hills. If you saw my city, you would know. There's a lot of money here. There's a lot of industry, but I don't know if it's cultural or the mindset, but I like the system we're doing because it works. It works. Very, very reliable. We bring it to another city. Every time we go to another town or city and we try the exact same Fairy Day promotion, we get the same success, which tells me it's universal, and we get the same results. So we'll go in, we'll shoot anywhere from 25 to 40 fairies in a 2-day period, and we'll sell for the next day and a half, and our average is we'll bring home $15,000 to $20,000. That's pretty good. And it's fun. I love shooting fairies. I love photographing kids. I'm a big kid at heart. So yeah, let me know what you think. When should you niche? Is niching important? How do you define it? Prove me wrong, or duplicate what I'm doing and prove me right. Not that it matters to me. It doesn't really matter to me, because I'm here to help people become the very best they can be in their photography business, predominantly using a similar system that we're using, which is fairies. So all I gotta say about that. All right, thanks guys. Talk to you later.